And hello everyone, and welcome back to week 84 of our Minecraft Let's Play series. How are y'all doing? I hope you're all doing very well this fine week. So yeah, week 84, so here we have our list of items. So the first thing, obviously, I'm not even going to pay attention to it. You can read it there. It's the villager hall, but we all know it, so leave it as is. Then we have our base decoration. I want to go ahead and decorate the building we made last week, make it into a library that we can hopefully, the plan is to fit in all of these enchanted books, which there's a lot, so I'll have to figure out something for those. Then the how do we get here advancement. I think the next thing we should probably work on when it comes to that is possibly going and looking for a skulk shrieker that I have not broken, because we need a functioning one to get us the blindness effect, or the darkness effect, I believe is what it's called. And every ancient city I found, I kind of removed most of the skulk shriekers, and I'd rather also find one that's close to spawn, because we need to find a shulker and bring it from the end into the overworld, plus all the other mobs that we did bring, like the dolphin, and I actually think that's all the other mobs that I need. Then also a resin farm we are going to try attempt 2 at, which I actually have the ingredients for here. This farm was built 5 months ago, or the video for this farm was created 5 months ago, so I'm hoping it still works. I'll probably be testing this before we actually get into it, but it's also a lot cheaper, and there's also the reason I didn't been working on the drowned farm is because of how expensive it is. So yeah, we got these 4 things, and then of course I do have the drowned farm on here just in case we have time. Probably won't. And the same thing with these etceteras, with the jelly statue, the mining village, and a new nether portal room. We've been kind of working a lot on nether portal room, so I thought it'd be best to take a break from it, and that is why we are here. Alright, that was a lot said. So you know what we're going to be doing right now, right? Repeat after me. We are heading straight into the nether, right? So that we can go over to our total of 8 villagers, right? And we are sending them over to the nether portal at the villager hall, right? And I'm going to stop saying right because I know that is going to get irritating for a lot of people. And then we go ahead and break the minecart so that they can go through the portal into the villager hall. I guess on their own accord, because that guy did not want me to push them in. And we repeat for all the other villagers. And now that all of them have gone through the portal, we will do the usual thing of sending one to his lucky home, but first stopping him here so that we can trade with him easier, and then trade with him his brick trades as well as his stone trades. And he has polished granite, which is not one that I can decrease on, so, well, goodbye, sir. This guy has polished andesite, which is also a trade I can't do that with, so he goes. This guy has polished granite, can't use him either. This guy has polished andesite, I don't know why they keep having the same trades. Polished andesite again. Okay, what is going on? I'd like to point out there are 7 trades that could fill that spot, 2 of which we don't want at all, and the other 5 are fine to get, so what gives? Alright, this guy has polished diorite or dripstone blocks, something we can actually use right now. So we'll grab a stack of that polished diorite, or half a stack, sorry, and green and pink. Alright, well, you had promised, but not enough apparently. This guy has polished diorite and polished granite. The granite makes this null and void. You're not a villager. Alright, last guy has polished granite. Okay, not a single one again. I think we only had 1 contender, maybe 2. I don't know why we're struggling so much, I'll be honest, but it is getting pretty annoying, and I've honestly been debating on kind of halting the progress on the masons, at least recently, because I don't know how many weeks we've been doing masons for, but it's been a lot. So yeah, I might go ahead, and there are a few things I could do. We can either just skip the masons for now, even though they're quite easy to be honest. We could go ahead and gather like more villagers in a week, which that'll take some time as well. Or the third option is do nothing and just keep going. We'll see what I decided upon, but for now, let's head back to our base because the next thing we're going to be working on is working in the library, or at least getting it decorated to it actually looking like a library. So I will meet you guys back over there. And here we are. And I went ahead and created a shulker box with all of the items that we are going to need to decorate this place with. I'll show you guys what I'm going to be using. You can probably tell that some of these are going to be used for the enchanting area, while a lot of the other items are just going to be to kind of put a little bit of a decorative twist onto the rest of this building, because right now it is literally just bare bones. So I will show you guys basically the chunks that I end up doing. So let's get started. So we'll get started on the enchanting area, just, like as we usually do. And it comes out to you looking like that, of course. Very simple enchanting area at least, so yeah, not too much here. Then the rest of this building is going to be a little bit trickier. And this is kind of what the first floor looks like with the decorations put in. Just giving this place a little bit more life. I was going to say color, but I guess it does have color with the books and the flowers, but it's very similar to the rest of the colors that we had on the floor already. But this does now give me space to actually put in books, because I want a place to put in our enchanting books that are currently just sitting in shulker boxes. And then we are going to come up here, and now I gotta do the exact same thing for the second floor, which is going to look something like this. Yeah, like I said, just the bottom floor design raised up to the top floor. But yeah, now we've got a lot of storage space to put in books that will actually look nice. So we can go ahead and bring these 4 shulker boxes over to here. And for those who may remember where these are from, well, congratulations. But for those who don't, these are actually all of the books that I had in our very old base, the one that is now the Wolf Den, that I just never went ahead and fixed. Or not fixed, but like found a spot for them. So I thought here would be a great thing. So I wanted to see if I can organize these some way, in a way that I'll understand. And currently, for me, that's going to require taking out the books that you can only get through hard means like Swift Sneak and putting them together. Alright, I had more Swift Sneak than I thought I did. These are 1s, other level 1s, 2s and 3s, and then just 3s. I forgot how many agencies I've been through, but this is gonna kind of be how I organize these. So give me a moment. I'll be back with an update on how I did these. Alright, so here's how I have the first floor currently. This is all of the Swift Sneak books. The ones that you can only get from trial chambers are up top. Then over here you have all of the enchantments that can have no particular level. Things like infinity, multi-shot, channeling, stuff like that's over here. Even in the bottom right corner is the curses, which obviously can't have a level. That's right here. This right side is stuff like Band of Arthropods, Loyalty, Sharpness, Smite, I believe Fire Aspects even up here. And these are put together because they can be put on weapons. Then up on the second floor, I have this bookshelf, which is kind of useless books, because this one's like Soul Speed 1. I've got a bunch of Soul Speed 3 books, so I don't necessarily need it anymore. Or I have Punch 1. I can probably get a Punch 2 book, so that's that. However, I've also decided to go ahead and put my great books in the bottom right corner. I call them great books because they've got, like, this one has Smite 4 and Loyalty 3. I basically have 2 good enchantments on them that I might want to use either of them, so they're just going to be right here. Hopefully I don't forget that and just think, oh, these are all bad enchantments. This bookcase is empty, mainly because this is my bookcase for any enchantment books that have just tool enchantments on them. This bookcase is for my armor enchantments. It's got things like protection, blast protection, depth strider, soul speed's even on here, but obviously it's also a bit empty. And then finally we have the bookshelf for any ranged enchantments. Anything that can go on crossbows or bows essentially is what's on this one. I thought I legitimately had more books, and technically I did, because I had 4 shulker boxes worth. Then I forgot how many chiseled bookshelves I put down, which kind of nullifies how many books I had. But that's fine, because in the end of the day, it is a lot nicer to have more space than it is to not. Then we go around this place, planting some bushes, like so, using the moss carpets to hide in some sneaky lighting, just like this. Then go ahead and add in some grass with some bone meal, add a simple path to the doorway, and I believe that we can call this this build done. It's very simplistic compared to some of my builds, but I wanted to, I don't know, take a little bit of a break from the bigger, more complicated builds and just build something nice and quaint. And to be fair, this is technically part of a bigger build with our base right here, so, you know, maybe you can call it a component or something, but it is its own project in itself, because now at our base we have a permanent enchanting table as well as a place to store all of our enchanted books and regular books. So I think that this is definitely a well needed building. But for now, that's all I wanted to do for base upgrading, or at least our library. So next thing on our list, we are gonna go ahead and try to make a new farm once again. And you may notice that we are in what I'd like to call the cursed farmland, because this is where we tried building the copper farm as well as the resin farm, and neither of them worked. And apparently I have not learned my lesson, because what I have with us today is I have the ingredients for a resin farm again. However, I have tested this one out, so hopefully this does work. So as per usual, you guys will get to see like the steps, not the individual steps, but the very long like leaps in building. Kind of get a little bit of a progress update, and you'll get to see how the final farm works. So yeah, let me go ahead and get started. Of course, by first building a large tower out of the scaffolding, and 80 blocks should be good. And that first starts off with us making this auto crafter system, where this will be crafting the resin into the resin blocks, because trust me, we're gonna be getting a lot of resin from this farm. I'll also say that some people are probably gonna get annoyed with me for using another build made out of stone bricks, but again, it is the cheapest thing I have. Then we make the chamber for where the creaking will fall in, as well as the collection chamber. Next is a redstone clock that will be running about every 5 seconds, as you can see, which actually swaps a trapdoor, like so. And of course, we can't have a farm in this world, especially a mob farm, without a large platform. At least this one is medium-sized. Next is 2 walls with some trapdoors. This will be where water flows so that they flow into our chamber. After that, we go ahead and make this wall that has a bunch of pistons firing, as well as the redstone components for activating these trapdoors back here. Then we do something similar to the other side as well, but this one's not going to be constantly firing off. Next is a little bit more dangerous. We gotta go ahead and add in a full floor of these creaking hearts, because this is how we're going to be spawning these guys in, which I didn't know that these actually worked sideways, which is quite interesting. Now with the floor moved in, we go ahead and add some stone bricks to these pistons, add some torches above both of these sides. And then we're going to add water here and here, but before we do that, we're going to go ahead and add in some fence gates so that the water doesn't flow in here. Also adding water into some designated stairs over here so that we don't have resin building up on the other side of these logs. I also almost forgot that I need to add water into these areas so they can actually flush. Then as an off switch, we have this lever here, and I believe our farm is actually done. Now all we gotta wait for is it to turn nighttime, and we can actually test out this farm. It is nighttime and they are funneling into here, so I'm going to go ahead and fill up my inventory, and while we're looking at them, we can just do this. And there is a timing thing to this, as you might also see by subtitles are going crazy over on the side. But there is actually a timing to this. I probably will not be able to do it too well because it's about 5 seconds. So I'm just going to sit here. I will AFK for the entire night, or not AFK, but I'll be here for the entire night, and we will see what the results are when it turns day. So I'll see you guys in a moment. And alright, so all the creaking have disappeared because it was turned to daytime, and I'm noticing that some of the resin also fell into, well, where I'm standing, so we'll go ahead and throw that back to the system. But yeah, these are currently still crafting, I'm pretty sure. Yep, because there's a lot of resin here. So what we're going to be doing with all of this is we're going to wait, but currently this is where I am at with resin. So yeah, give me a moment, I'll show you guys what the end result actually is. And actually, while we also wait, you can see that there's a little bit of resin up there, but I'm also just going to turn this off for the time being. And here we are after one full night of farming. This is how much resin we got. That is, how many stacks? Almost 13 and a half. And that's not to mention the little bit of resin that's in here, because this would make definitely another full block, probably, maybe 2, but not enough to really bring us up past that 13 and a half stacks back. So honestly, if you can't tell, this is a really good farm, and definitely a lot better than the last resin farm I tried to make, because that one didn't work in the slightest. But I digress. We finally have a resin farm in this world. It produces a bunch for us. Simple to use. I literally just kept left clicking just like our gold farm. So now let's head back to our base and get the last thing that I want to get done for this week. So I'll meet you guys back over there. And for the last thing we're going to be doing this week, we are going to be working on the how do we get here advancement. Specifically, I don't have the book, give me a moment. Specifically, the fact that we need to start working on these hard parts. And the one thing that I know about this advancement is that one of these cannot be moved from their location and only lasts for like 3 seconds for their effect. And that is the Shrieker. We need to get darkness, and we can't move a Shrieker. We can't also generate a new Shrieker. So what I need to do is I'm going to go ahead, grab some white wool, go ahead and head into the nether, fly over in this direction to this portal that we barely use, because this portal goes ahead and takes us all the way over to our spawn. And this is probably the best place to look for a Skulk Shrieker, specifically for the fact that I need to also bring eventually a shulker into this world so that it can give me levitation, and I don't want to carry it that far, so I want to see if I can find a Skulk Shrieker somewhere in this area. I don't know if it's going to be easy to do that. We may have to go out a little bit further than where we are at now, but we are going to try. And to be fair, I know that the Skulk does not need to be in like an ancient city, so we do have that at least, but I don't know. We may find it, we may not. So I guess best way to first start is just to probably start digging into the landmass. So let's get started. So I guess also something I realized I should also do that I haven't done yet is I should pick out my serious dedication hoe, because of the fact that, well, we're going to be working with Skulk, so best to just, you know, get something that I can break Skulk with fast. My hope is that I can kind of just dig down into a cave system and just kind of look through the cave system to try and find something, but if I can't, I can't, but the hope is there. But yeah, I'm not going to bore you guys with a bunch of mining. We'll just kind of talk when there is actually something interesting on the screen. All right, you know what? Not what I was expecting when I was doing this, but I guess this could work. Definitely getting a lot of diamonds from this, though. I also just want to say that I have set aside 2 hours for this, so if I don't do this in 2 hours, like find a suitable Skulk Shrieker, then oh well, I don't have time to do more searching after that. At least not for this week. And if that's the case, then I will go ahead and probably put this on a higher priority next week. See, the other scary thing about this currently is the fact that we are doing a thing where I need to find it before it finds me. Because if the Skulk Shrieker finds me first, well, that's going to trigger, you know, the warden. So if it finds me first, that's already one of 2 free hits I get. Or sorry, 3 free hits I get. I'll have 2 more after that. But then I don't want to use up any of them, to be honest with you, because I do not have a good track record with the warden, as many probably remember. I don't even remember what week that was, but that was a very, very bad week for me in terms of losing items. Am I back on the surface? How did I manage to get back up here? Alright, I seem to have mined into a geode somehow. You know, maybe I'm thinking about this wrong, because no matter what I do, right, I'm going to have to take this shulker through the end. Or not the end, the nether. But that's gonna be annoying in itself. But I have to do it because of the fact that I'm gonna have to take this thing underground. So maybe what I should just be doing is not worrying about finding one that's, you know, not finding a Shrieker that's near spawn, because that's not going to matter. I should be trying to find one that, well, just exists, essentially. And I do think I know an area that I could find one in. And I think it was around our mining village. If it's not, then we're in a different kind of problem, but I mean, I'm going to hope. Actually, random question. Can shulkers go through nether portals? It should probably be something I look into first. Give me a moment. Alright, I can neither confirm nor deny if they go through nether portals, so it might just be best for me just to go ahead and find an area that is actually, you know, near spawn, like close, because what it's looking like is I'm gonna have to transport it via minecart, and that's gonna be a pain. I feel like I've made this harder on myself because I legitimately don't remember if if the warden existed before I made this world, and if it didn't, then yes, I 100% made it harder on myself to actually, get this advancement, because, you'd rather have to not deal with a warden, or the darkness effect for that matter, going through this, but here we are. I'm trying to do the math currently, because I believe we are now currently, like, on the exact number of 20 weeks from, year 2 being over, so, not great for doing this, because I've got plans for some of the steps that we gotta do, and they're gonna take a while. I'm not even looking forward to bringing a dolphin down here. I know I gotta do that too. There's a lot of baby zombies. Well, we found a cave, I suppose. That is at least a step in the right direction, like a non-waterlogged cave. There's a part of me that's starting to debate on whether or not I want to use TNT to just start mining through this, because mining through deep slate sucks. Like, I know this from the time I built, or the time I spent, mining out the mining hole for the build, but God, I forgot. The worst part is I don't even remember where I came from. That's a special bat. Okay, well, found a mine shaft. Well, this could have good stuff in it. Probably should not be facing the wrong direction. But this could have useful stuff in it for what we're trying to do. Or the chances this thing has skulk in it. Of course, I find a dungeon beforehand. With how this is going so far, because I'm almost hitting halfway through the time I allotted for this, I'm entirely expecting to have to give up, and then as I'm trying to leave, hit a, deep dark. That's just kind of what I'm expecting at this point. And I'm somehow back to the surface again. Something I am starting to realize, though, is that this might be a bit harder, because I am 90% sure our caves are all just waterlogged. Because I have been swimming I don't know how long at this point. And while it does help for the fact that I don't need to worry about lighting up caves, it is a little bit worse when I'm trying to find a cave that has skulk in it. You've got to be kidding me. I think that was the second time I've hit a bat today. Alright, quick little intermission, because we're actually back at our base for me needing to grab more supplies like food and torches, because I didn't really bring much last time apparently. And we're currently a little over an hour into my search for a suitable deep dark, sadly. And I've come to realize that I'm starting to think what might be the better way of doing this is, I know that on the F3 screen, right? I can't really show this, but I will describe it as best as I can. If you go down on the left side in the second paragraph of text, it's the fourth line from the bottom of all that text, it says biome builder, and you have things like PV, C, E, T, H. We need to focus on that letter E, just like we used to do whenever we were doing the ancient city. So that needs to be as low as possible, or else we have a very low likelihood of actually finding a deep dark. So as you can tell, I'm in E level 4 currently, so very, very low chance of finding a deep dark. So with spending an hour now just kind of randomly searching, I think now we're going to start. I probably should have been doing this beforehand, but we'll be working through this more methodically. We'll see if I can find an E level that has lower than 4 around our spawn, but I am not holding my breath on that because of how weird our world spawn is. And again, if push comes to shove, I do think I know the location of a single deep dark that isn't horribly far away and might be near the surface, but that is going to be a Hail Mary at best. Also, just for a point of reference, I don't know how many diamonds I had before we started this, but I'm currently at this level. So yeah, I've been doing this for a bit. So yeah, the E level here is 4. We need that to be as low as we can get it within a reasonable distance from spawn. Honestly, I think going 200 in any direction is pushing it, but I also be very picky with that. So yeah, we're just gonna try and get anything that I can at this point. So I keep hitting 5s, I'm noticing on the E level, and that is worse. Well, we're down to 3. 3's better. It's not great, but I'm also 500 blocks out currently. So I also wonder if there's coding in Minecraft to where it's hey, we cannot have a deep dark at spawn. Not sure, but what I am sure of is we are currently at E level of 2. This is the best chance I have so far, so I guess we'll just dig down and hope for the best. This is about, I would say, 500 blocks in a distance, so it's not horrible. It's not great, but it's not horrible. Oh, well, good news is we have Skulk. And the question is, do we have a Shrieker, and how hard is it going to be to get to? Alright, there's a Shrieker. Not a great spot, but I think we can do something with this. Thankfully, you can place wool, and it does not count as anything that should trigger this thing. I'm going to cover this in wool completely. I'm even going to make a box around it. I'm not going to make just the directions around it, because I am literally terrified of this thing. I guess to be fair, we've got 3 free hits before it activates, so that's nice at least. Alright, that thing can no longer be triggered. Let me see if there's any more around here that I can accidentally trigger and see if I can take them out, like this one. This also does seem to be a smaller skulk, which is nice. Okay, this is a lot larger of a skulk area than I thought it was, and I didn't even realize that this was there. However, this, I believe, is far enough away from where I actually want to do this, because it's all the way back here, and I believe I've taken out all these skulk sensors that I actually need to worry about. So I believe we are freely able to work over in this area. Yeah, because here is our skulk sensor. Only issue I see at the moment is just how far down it is. It is -15. I'm pretty sure I came from like about y equals 100. So it's a ways, and we'll have to figure out how to get... I don't actually remember what needs to be down here exactly. I think we need a villager, which that isn't too hard. A shulker, that's going to be annoying, as well as a dolphin. That's going to be even worse. Because at least with the shulker, once you get it into like a minecart, it will live, but the dolphin is going to be a whole another story. But that's fine. I have taken a picture of this thing's coordinates. I'm also going to be marking at the top of the hole over there, but this is probably where we're going to be working with. It's not exactly near spawn. Like I said, it's about 500 blocks out, probably a little bit more if I were to guess, but if it works, it works. I don't think I necessarily care too much in the end about how optimal we do this. Just as long as we get the advancement, that's all the end goal is. But we are going to leave that for another week, because sadly we are out of time for this week. I know, comes and goes, doesn't it? But we did get some stuff on. Of course, we attempted to go ahead and get the villager hall done. Still not having the best of luck with that light blue terracotta trade, but we will get there at one point. Then of course we went ahead and finished up decorating our library, as well as building a resin farm, both of which were very quick builds, but they will serve their purpose. And then finally we went ahead and did this preparation for the how do we get here advancement, finding a spot where it will all take place, because it all revolves around that skulk shrieker. So all in all, I'd say still a pretty good week. But nonetheless, as always, I thank you all for watching. You guys all take care. Have a great week. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you guys hopefully in the next one. Alright, take care. Bye bye.